welcome, Shaun, to the show.
Thanks, Kim. Thank you for having me.
So look, for anyone that doesn't know, Shaun, you basically have, from what I've seen and what I've read and I've heard about you, is you've got over 15 years experience in the industry as a PT yourself. So you did that to begin with. And then you kind of moved into leading commercial strategies, and you also led successful conferences from the fitness show. And then now going into 2021, the Fitness and Wellness Australia, which is a new independent trade show and conference for basically everyone within the health, fitness, and wellness space. For anyone that doesn't know you, or if I've actually missed out on anything, do you mind sort of giving us a bit of a background of how you got started in the industry and where your passion for fitness came from?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thanks, Kim. I guess most people know me as the guy that heads up the trade show offering for the fitness industry in this region, as you say, and that's a role I've been in for over a decade now, and had a whole lot of fun with. So we'll get to that. But I guess for me in the fitness industry, I really didn't have any other choice, because my father, he was actually the CEO of the YMCA when I was a kid. So
Oh, wow.
my childhood existed of holiday program in YMCA's, running around staring at all the big guys with muscles in the gym, and watching the women do aerobics and sports. And my first job was as the vacuum cleaner for the gym, and also the hallway up to the pool, and taking pool covers off the pool. And they let me start training in the gym when I was 14 years old, which was awesome. I had a special program. Can still remember Darren, the guy that wrote it out for me. He was my hero at the time. And it just went from there. I know this story resonates with so many people, but fitness, it changed my life. It gave me a purpose, and it felt like I switched on, and everything was just smooth sailing for me from the age of 14, because there's many challenges along the way, and lots of murky water, and lots of times when I was challenged in life. But that anchor, as the rock says, and that thing that always saved me was fitness and training and whatnot. So there wasn't a fitness industry back in those days from a commercial standpoint. And Dane will attest to this. We're showing our age.
It was like the wild, wild west back then, mate.
Yeah, that's right. So
a lot of spandex.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, personal training didn't really exist. That's the truth of it. There was gym instructors and gym managers, and you'd get a membership, and you might do a box exercise class, something like that. But all the same, I got my certificate 3 and 4 in fitness in 2002. So I became a personal trainer, but it just wasn't viable for that to be, my sole source of income. I'd studied in business events. I had a background in that. And so, amongst, a few different corporate sales roles where I was running sales teams prior to, I found my way onto the fitness show in 2009, and created that portfolio, if you like, made it the consumer festival that it was. And the rest is kind of history, Kim. It's just meant to be, I think, for me and the fitness industry.
Talk to us a little bit then, obviously, with the fitness industry, I know, that obviously you started as a PT, and kind of, that's where you got your feet wet. Like, how did it go from, PT to all of a sudden, becoming an event director, for the fitness show back in the late 2000s? Like, how did that transition occur? Because obviously, I think especially back in those days, a lot of people would start as a PT. They might go and become a personal training manager. And then, maybe from there, they might become a club general manager. Obviously, personal training manager, event show director, two very different pathways. Like, how did you fall into that?
Yeah, so I was really tied to the YMCA through the legacy with my father. And so my roles with the YMCA covered, I guess a 10-year span really, and encompassed everything from pool and gymnasium management, to fitness instruction, to lifeguarding, staff management, recruitment, training and rostering, event management, et cetera. So I really got the full spectrum with the YMCA. And I studied at university business, majoring in events. And so just by chance, funny enough, but that was kind of the thing that, you know, led me towards an interest in events, if you like. But it took me a while to get there. As I said earlier, personal training wasn't at a level where I could make that my sole income. And so I found, you know, myself having sales jobs as a full-time role, and did quite well in that. I think my first job away from the YMCA was with Stella Resorts Group, who owned and operated all the Break Free resorts, the Mantra resorts, Peppers resorts, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
And so my job was to sell to the guests staying at the resorts. And we were called Resort Club representatives, I think. And, you know, I was just one of any one of us who was planted in one of these resorts with the task of selling to the guests, and actually come up with a system. And, you know, the system worked really well. It was a personalized system where I was writing a letter to each of the guests checking in, and it kind of convinced them to give me half an hour of their time of an evening. So I was working kind of outside of business hours, and my results were just off the charts versus all the other reps. And, you know, it was a pretty basic formula, but through that, I got promoted all the way up to national sales manager of the Stella Resorts Group. And from there went across to a company called Roam Free, which had a technology program that worked with hoteliers and different resort organizations to help upload and maintain their inventory. So I was the Asia Pacific Business Development Manager for that company. And it was going well, you know, it was good income, all whilst doing PT on the side, but my passion was fitness. And funny enough, I had a friend who worked in exhibitions. He ran career exhibitions, so career trade shows. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. I wonder if there's something like that for fitness, and searched around, and sure there was. And the ownership group, Diversified as they were known at the time, they were running it was called the Australian Fitness and Health Expo at that point in time, which was just a trade show that ran alongside FileX. So I cold called them, sold myself, presented a vision, said, this is what I can do. This is what it is now. But
just on that point there, not enough people do that. Like what you just said then about like cold calling and just putting it out there on the table. Like I think, you know, when I hear that, it's like you chase success. You didn't wait for it to come to you. And I think sometimes a lot of fitness professionals, and, you know, especially obviously starting as a PT, then wanting to expand your career profile, not enough people are prepared to kind of put themselves on the line like that and just kind of, you know, leave it.
I mean, mate, at the end of the day, my background was sales, and personal training was about sales as well.
Yeah.
And that's what I did, and that's what I did well. And through that journey, I developed some really good business skills. And, you know, once I was successful in aligning with the fitness show, it was just like this unstoppable force, because it became that perfect alignment of my passion and skill set. And so, you know, the growth we achieved through that was just phenomenal. And through that process, I was able to get some equity in that business. We, of course, sold that business in 2017 to Reed Exhibitions, and the rest is kind of history. It was just this beautiful journey of unstoppable momentum, I guess.
Give an overview of your career like that. It's, you know, it's amazing to see how far you've come. But talk to us, like, obviously, you know, starting in 2009 and then working your way up to a point where you got, you know, equity, and then being able to kind of, you know, sell off and then take that to the next journey. Like that's a dream for a lot of young fitness industry entrepreneurs out there, or trainers that are out there doing that. Like, what were some of the things that you feel contributed to your success in that business? And, you know, obviously your ability to grow it. You know, obviously when you came in there, you pretty much had your smarts in your mouth, and then obviously you took that all the way to where you did.
Mate, I think, again, like, it sounds so cliche, but I feel like at that point in time, I was the hardest worker in the room, and I had nothing other than my vision and my mouth, as you say, and the words that come out of my mouth. And I relentlessly focused on building a network and building relationships with businesses within the fitness and wellness ecosystem, and, you know, sold them my vision. And, And I guess
like us, like CHFI.
yeah, and I guess delivered, and through that delivery, you form trust, and then it just, your retention of the people you're doing business with, that obviously stays strong, and then you get growth on top of that, and it's continual scale. So I think I just worked really hard, Dane. I was on the phones back in those days, just calling people, getting meetings, getting in front of them, talking to them about their product, understanding their product, and then finding people, the type of people they wanted to sell to, and putting that product in their hands. That was really what it was all about. And that's the beauty of a trade show, right? Whether it was thousands and thousands of consumers or a CEO from a gym chain, I built a network that gave me the ability to do that.
That's kind of the key word there. And that's a running theme as well, given what you do with the trade show is networking. So I guess my next question is, do you sort of believe that networking is important for fitness professionals, or solely people who are fitness entrepreneurs who are, I guess, trying to propel a business? Is there a divide? Is there a difference? Or is it something that everyone should be mindful of?
I think it's something absolutely everyone should be mindful. My personal opinion is that relationships are everything. That's the most valuable currency. And once you build that high-powered network, your ability to get cut through and make things happen and generate referrals and do business with people that you wouldn't have done business with prior, just it compounds, and it's just a continual journey that gets better and better. And so, yeah, I think absolutely everyone should be focused on the network.
What would your advice be? Because obviously, I know with the trade shows over the years, you've had to interact and engage with a lot of, fitness professionals out there, personal trainers, things like that. Influencers that you might have struck a deal with to come and represent or be an ambassador at the show. Like, to those, because a large segment of our audience right now are obviously fitness professionals, right? So for those fitness professionals out there that are wanting to kind of go and strike up a corporate deal, get an ambassadorship, get some sort of sponsorship, get flown out to an expo or something like that. Like, from the commercial side, obviously you're a health and fitness nut, but from the commercial side, like, what are some of the things that you've historically looked at when forging these relationships with fitness professionals and actually bring them into part of the business, along the journey?
I think what's their community. Yeah, I think there's different kind of realms of influence, and the best influence I always found was influencers that had a really strong local community. So, through my time with the fitness show, that was always what I was looking for. It was never we'll engage you to just appear. It was always a partnership, and almost like, here's a platform, but let's run your own event and let's bring your community into this event. And then it becomes like a
collaboration.
Yeah, 100%. And it was always a collaboration. I think, in business, you need to do deals that are a win-win for both parties. Sorry. If you're doing deals where it's a win for you, but not a win for the person you've sold to, you're only going to do that deal once. And so, it's always a back and forward process where you need to look for that sweet spot where it absolutely ticks the box of both parties. So I think the fitness show, looking back at that example again, like, that ticked the box for an influencer because you kind of had to be there. It was the largest gathering of fitness enthusiasts in the Southern Hemisphere. And so if you weren't there, you weren't in the game. And obviously you could use it as a tool to build your profile via data capture and the creation of content, et cetera, et cetera. So, it was really just around about working with the influencers and the guests to capitalize on that opportunity.
Now, Shaun, do you, I guess, because you've been in the business in regards to the fitness show and using influencers for marketing purposes and letting them grow their own social influence or platforms, is there a difference between what it was like back in 2009 versus 2015 and then onwards going into 2021? Do you see a difference with how social media has changed the way that fitness is, I guess, used or marketed in whatever respect?
Massive. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think, in 2009, that was really the time when, Instagram wasn't really around at that point. It was Facebook, and Instagram was just about to come in, and it kind of exploded, right? And with that, so did the fitness industry. And we all rode that wave, every one of us that works in the fitness industry. But, from a fitness show standpoint, it went from a one-off annual event that was attracting visitation from 3,500 people to a 4-time per year event with 80,000 people coming through the doors. And
Wow.
the revenue growth was on average 200% year on year per
Do you
annum.
feel a lot of that was attributed to, I guess, how social media in many respects revolutionized our industry?
Absolutely, no doubt. I think
Interesting. You're the second guest we've had in the last week. Kim would attest to that kind of, I guess, really was an early adopter of social media influence into their fitness business to really help grow and expand it.
Yeah. It was funny because I remember back in those days, we weren't social media savvy, but I had a guy from the marketing department with me who had a video camera. Just happened to have a video camera, and we didn't even know what we were going to do with it. And all this amazing content was happening on the show floor. And I said to him, "You grab that camera. Let's go and talk to some people." And so off we went, and we had a microphone. And I think I interviewed Ronnie Coleman, interviewed Jay Cutler, people like that who were our guests. And all of a sudden on YouTube, a couple of weeks later, it got like 25,000 views. It was crazy. And then that content just lived on until the next fitness show come around, to a point where people were like, I don't want to miss out on that. Yeah. And so, that's personally how I felt it. I think as well, like the golden period was kind of 2009 to 2013. That's how I see it. And then I think people got a little bit of fatigue. And now it's just so saturated everywhere, right? That fatigue still exists. So it's harder to get cut through, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually something that I was listening to a podcast with Gary Vee, and people were asking him about how do they break through the social media, because he nails all platforms, whether it's TikTok or social media, and he just says you just have to adopt early and understand the platform. So it's similar to what you did, which is impressive, where you took hold of it and you did it early, which I think is a big thing that anyone listening to this should take away.
Yeah.
Talk to us about, like, obviously, the last 12, 18 months. What type of effect has COVID and all that had in, your side of the industry with trade show events? How has it kind of forced the next round of innovation in that space? And obviously where you're at now, because obviously, especially for our Australian guests who, follow what's going on in the industry, you moved on from the fitness show in the last 12 months. You've gone out and started a completely whole new brand and concept. Like, what type of impact has COVID had on all this, and where do you kind of see the future of trade shows going in our industry?
Yeah, I mean, look, the business events category, to be frank, has been absolutely decimated by COVID. It was the first to be shut down. And sorry, not just business events, but major events as a whole, as you can all attest to, right? They were the first to be shut down, and it looks like they'll be the last to reopen. And so, as I said earlier, well,
it was weird. It was weird in 2020, not having, especially in our Australasia, not having any kind of trade shows, nothing on social, no events, no new technologies or new products or new services being launched at these events to, the industry, because a lot of big announcements always happen at these events. It was very different, very different.
Yeah, exactly. So all the major trade shows from a fitness industry standpoint globally were postponed. FIBO, Ursa, Arnold, Fitness Show in Australia, etc., etc. At that point in time, I was heading up the fitness show portfolio for Reed Exhibitions, who were the owner of the portfolio, and they're the largest trade show and conference organizer in the world. In a usual year, they do $1.5 billion in turnover. I had a continuation of service agreement with them, and some contractual periods attached to that. But that business was, of course, absolutely decimated by COVID. That $1.5 billion in turnover become, who knows, not zero, because there was some digital revenue that was still ticking in, but they were decimated, and thousands of staff globally were made redundant, including myself and all of my non-compete clauses. And at that point in time, it was like, do we do the fitness show again, or do we start with a blank canvas and do something fresh and exciting that's a reflection of where the industry's at now, that's a reflection of something that can actually add value? And so that's what I decided to do. We announced Fitness Wellness Australia way before we were ready, but it was strategic because other people were potentially looking at the fitness show. And, that worked, because 2 weeks later, Reed Exhibitions simply announced that the fitness show would be discontinued. And so as it stands, Fitness Wellness Australia, is the only event of this kind in this region at that scale. And that will remain the case ongoing. So we've done a really good job of kind of capturing the opportunity that COVID provided. But it was a lot of hard work to get to that point. And as you can imagine, a lot of stressful nights, and we had to really go for it. But yeah, so back to your original question, because I've kind of gone off track a bit there, but major events was absolutely decimated. Everything turned virtual, right? I think we all got sick to death of virtual events, and now
I think, virtuals, like virtual working, remote working, that's one thing. But I think, in the fitness industry, we're a very physical, hands-on industry. We like to get out there, meet and greet people. And sure, in other industries, virtual might work or entice the audience. But I think, the fitness industry historically, it's a physical industry. People like to meet and greet, socialize, be together, be around, and I think it's been missing. Like, it's been missing not having it the last kind of year now.
Yeah, I think the pent-up demand, based on the people that we speak to, I actually think when events do come back, they'll come back better than ever before.
Oh, yeah.
People are absolutely craving that live interaction. And when I talk to people, this thing's a trade show and a conference with a matchmaking program and a hosted buyers program, but really, what is it? It's a giant industry party with an opening reception and 300 people having cocktails and drinking and having fun.
I can't wait.
That's what the industry wants, right?
Yeah.
So
we'll have to Kim, we'll have to fly up a bunch of the team, I reckon, to attend and make a weekend.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
sounds good to me.
If it's on the Goldie, like, hey. But talk to us then, like, in terms of, obviously, look, it's a new concept. Let's talk about your new business now. Like, point of difference. Who's it targeted for? What's it hoping to achieve? Give us the spiel, because obviously, a large part of our audience is domestic here in Australia, and a large part of our audience is obviously fitness professionals that are going to want to come to this event. So, let's tell us about it.
Yeah, okay, cool. So, Fitness Wellness Australia is the new independent, which is an important trade show and conference for Australasia's fitness, health, and wellness industry.
Just on that point, I know why independent is important, and it's a big reason. Like, for the listeners out there, why is that a point of difference?
I think the fitness show got political in the end, in a sense that there was, partnerships in play with Filex that meant Filex had control of the curation of content for the industry professional, and they were tied into Fitness Australia and all these other little caveats along the way. And so with Fitness Wellness Australia, again, we're starting with a blank canvas. We're not gym owners. We're an event management company that runs live events, trade shows, and conferences. And we do that in an independent way. And so with that independent status, it means that we're open to all that want to play in the business of fitness. So that's why it's important. And, we'll continue with that theme going forward.
I think that's super important. I think, because, where the industry's at now, COVID, blitzed through a large segment of our industry that hasn't or won't even recover. So I think, the future of the industry, it needs innovation, needs creative thought, it needs new concepts and ideas. It needs to be evolving. And I think the only way to do that, to be honest, is being independent.
Yeah, exactly. We want to drive growth, innovations, partnerships. It's the conference and trade show for everyone in the business of fitness, and our intent through it is to bring together the whole value chain, from health and fitness businesses to manufacturers, distributors, retailers, fitness professionals, the whole equation. And I really feel strongly, and I know you do too, Dane, that it's a much needed platform for the industry to kind of come back together and network and do business on the back of these hugely challenging times that we've faced with COVID. So to achieve that effectively, I should state that the key difference versus the fitness show is that it's a B2B only event. It's for people that actually work in the fitness industry. Why? Because we need to create an environment that's conducive to business. And the only way to do that effectively is to run this event as a proper trade show. That way you get the discovery and the serendipity aspects that you get from a great trade show. Because I can guarantee you, your CEOs and your senior executives of all the major chains, they're not coming to a trade show where they're side by side 18 to 30-year-olds looking to snatch and grab freebies and take their photo with influencers. They're just not.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. That's great. We had a lot of fun with that concept. But this is a serious event for the commercial end of the fitness industry.
And Shaun, this is scheduled for the 11th to 13th November this year. Is that right?
Yeah, 11th to 13th
Yep.
November at the ICC, the spectacular Darling Harbour precinct, which is the leading business events precinct in this region. So 3 big days, 120 plus exhibitors,
Yep.
150 plus speakers in the conference program, and over 5,000 attendees, all whom work in the business of fitness, as I spoke about.
Perfect. Now, if you are allowed to give us any sort of little tips or insight into any new trends that are coming up in the fitness and wellness space that we should know about, or, is there like hoverboards that we need to be wary of or anything like that? Because I find like trade shows are where people sort of look at these things, and that's where all these things get showcased. So if you're allowed to give us any sort of insight or giveaway or hints.
Yeah. And I mean, absolutely. That's what a trade show is. And I said this line earlier, but it's that discovery and serendipity aspect that you get. That's, you want to see stuff. Basically, the theme of what we do is we help people to run their business more efficiently, more effectively, and more profitably. So that discovery aspect's very important, and that includes trainers, because we want to target trainers who are business minded in that sense. So new trends are critical. We'll have a whole stage and content stream dedicated to new trends. But the things I'm kind of seeing at the moment, there's a lot of AI, artificial intelligence, that's kind of helping clubs with their member retention and insights and data and whatnot. Air sanitization is a big one at the moment.
Oh yeah, I've seen that one. Yep.
Yeah. On the back of COVID, of course. I think hygiene is obviously critical right now. All the usual ones, wearable tech, still huge. I think the omni revenue as well for a club owner operator. So how to generate revenue from your member in the facility and also at home. So having products that cater to that member in facility and at home, if you like, I think that'll be a big part of the equation in 2021.
Talk to us about the conference part of the event that you guys are hosting.
Yep. So
what type of stuff are people going to be learning there? Who's for? Like, what are some of the key value points that you feel are going to come from that?
Look, it's the event. The conference will be an event for business owners and operators to get everything they need to build a long and lasting successful business. We'll cover the full spectrum, so that the model kind of is, we'll have an extraordinary keynote that kicks off each day. And that'll be led by perhaps people that are very well known, but from outside of the fitness industry.
Yep.
And then from there, we'll break out into individual business theatres, covering tracks of content with detail on everything from leadership to legal to member retention, sales and marketing, strategy, finance, technology again, wellness and community program, I think would be a big one. We'll have some health and wellness type content with nutrition and weight management, and no doubt some hypertrophy and some metabolic training and all that good stuff. So this is our model.
Really kind of like going end to end from like grassroots to business owners.
Yeah, absolutely. Our model is go hard or go home. So this is the event where you can see the full spectrum of offerings and content for the fitness and wellness industry in this region. And so we're just relentlessly focused on making sure we can execute that strategy.
Now, Shaun, I know there's a big focus on the trade show for you, and that's probably one of your primary focuses is getting that off the ground and it being a great success. Is there anything else that's in store for you and your business in 2021?
Well, I think, for me, I'm at a stage now, having been in the fitness industry for as long as I have, where I am helping other B2B and B2C businesses who play in the fitness and wellness ecosystem from an advisory standpoint. So there's some startups that are entering the Australian market that I'm working with at the moment. And so that's exciting. And I think something that I want to continue to do going forward. I've worked really hard to, build the network that I have. And so now I'm at a point where I'm able to effectively leverage that to help startups launch their business, which is something I'm really passionate about. I really resonate with entrepreneurs like Dane. He's, realistically, all credit to you, mate, what you've built with Clean Health. I think you're pretty much the top dog in the fitness industry from that standpoint. So I love that passion and working with people like Dane on achieving their goals.
Yeah, and I think, to give you credit too, I always say to people, they ask about Shaun, I'm like, look, he's the man in the middle of everything in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a testament to you, mate. It's a testament to, obviously, as you mentioned, being the hardest worker in the room. And I think people get so, success means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. But I think whether it's being a successful parent, whether it's being a successful bodybuilder, whether it's being a successful manager or fitness show operator, whatever that might be, it's a process of repeating the same habits day in and day out, day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, and it doesn't happen overnight. So all kudos to you, mate, for stepping out in the last 12 months and launching this. Like, I for one will be there with my Clean Health pom-poms when you're there, mate. Ready to see this event do big things.
We'll have to roll out the red carpet for your arrival, mate.
Shucks, man. Shucks. Maybe for Kim. She's used to that. She used to walk on the runway with her pageants and that back in the day, right? So
don't start, Dane. But yeah, look, it sounds like there's a lot of exciting things to look forward to in 2021. And I mean, for anyone that's listening, who I'm sure will obviously be very enthusiastic in terms of their health, fitness, and all things wellness, the fact that it's the only show that's going ahead in 2021, we all cannot wait. So we thank you, Shaun, for persisting and ensuring that this actually does run. For anyone that's involved or anyone that is interested in knowing for the new trends in 2021 for their business or for themselves. So thank you for your time today and answering all our questions. We appreciate it.
And where should our listeners go for more information?
So the website is www.fwa.show, or you can hit me up direct on LinkedIn, just / Shaun Krenz on LinkedIn. Obviously Instagram and all the usual platforms. So that's the easiest way to find me.
Awesome.
Perfect. Thanks, Shaun.
All right. Well, look, thanks for having us on the show, mate.
It was great, actually. It was really good to talk to you, and keep doing what you're doing. It's great to see people like yourselves leading the way and making sure the fitness industry just gets better and better. And I really appreciate watching your journey.